BodyBags, where horror lies.
Hey, I'm Sam, I'm your Thursday guy for BodyBags, and this week is 1941. And the movie I picked is a classic. He was one of the original members of the Universal Monsters. The movie I picked was The Wolfman. And I love this movie. I love this movie. When I first started watching movies in general, it was like, alright, so when I first started watching horror movies, it was like the tamest stuff. So I started with like 30s, 40s, 50s movies. And like I love The Wolfman. I always loved that movie. It's a really good movie. If you haven't seen it yet, not that it's like, you haven't seen it yet, but like, you know, you haven't seen it yet, you need to go watch it. It is really good. So you have a few actors in there, pretty big names. You know, there's a couple of big names and a couple of people that are basically like only like in the moment actors. So like you have like Lon Chaney Jr., Claude Rains, Bela Lugosi's basically a cameo. Those are like those big name guys, but then you have like Patrick Knowles, who is basically in that like 5-10 year window where he's like big for him a little bit, but like, you know, there's some actors that are like, oh, they're pretty good, but like, you know, you won't see them anywhere else. Except I'm pretty sure that Patrick Knowles, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure he's in the sequel to The Wolfman. He's in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, but not the same character. He's a totally different character. So I'm pretty sure that's the case, in which is just weird. Because I'm sure it's supposed to be like 20, 30, 50 years kind of things. Or maybe longer, in between the movies. But anyway. So, the storyline. I'm not going to give you the entire storyline, just the premise. So, Lon Chaney Jr. plays Lawrence Talbot, who is son of a rich family, and he's coming back home because his twin brother died in a hunting accident. So he's like there for like, you know, the funeral, kind of thing. I don't think there's ever a funeral scene of that, but that's why he's there. His dad is Claude Rains, so that's pretty cool. They have a lot of scenes together. And while he's back in town, he meets this woman who he really likes. I forget the actress that plays her, but she was kind of big, but like, you know, not like, you know, a superstar like Lon Chaney or Claude Rains. And they go to the it's not a fair, but like, you know, the gypsies happen to also be coming in town at the same time, and it's kind of like a fair. So like they go there, and she brings one of her friends, and so it's like the three of them going to the gypsy place at night. And you know, while he's trying to like, you know, get her to like him, you know, the lady he likes, her friend is getting her hands read, you know, reading her palms. And Bela Lugosi is reading her palms, and he sees a star on her hand. and that's supposed to mean that that's gonna be the next person that the werewolf kills. So Bela Lugosi is a werewolf, and he tells her to run away. Run, run! She runs. He ends up chasing her, killing her. Lon Chaney follows suit, and fights the werewolf. Except the thing is, it looks like a normal wolf. So I mean, it doesn't look like an actual werewolf. It just looks like a wolf. Anyways, he fights it, gets bit in the process, but ends up killing it. And then, of course, if you know how a werewolf movie goes, you already know how the rest of this movie's gonna go. Except, you should definitely watch it because it is still really good. A couple of nice things about this movie. So the general like history of the original monster movies was that, you know, Frankenstein and Dracula, those came out, and you know, those kind of movies, and like the big stars, you know, the big monster actors were like, you know, British. And so when the Wolfman was, you know, getting made, or when they were like, okay, well, who should play him? Oh, how about we try to get Boris Karloff or Bela Lugosi or whatever. But then the war was, you know, happening, and so they were like, okay, well, you know, what if we get an American underdog, and they get an actor who not was small at the time, but was kind of growing, you know, in fame through like westerns and Of Mice and Men and stuff like that. And they ended up picking Lawrence. They ended up picking Lon Chaney Jr. So that's pretty. That's not that that's like, you know, oh my god, that's so cool. Yeah. What is actually pretty cool though is that each monster in those movies ends up getting played by a different actor. So like there's like 3 or 4 actors that play Frankenstein. It's like a couple that play Dracula, a few that play the Invisible Man. But the one thing that's pretty cool though is that Lon Chaney is the only person to play the Wolfman. So that, I always kind of thought that was pretty cool. Alright, so one last like fact about this movie was that, you know, there were some ideas and some scenes that were cut from the movie originally. Like originally the movie was supposed to be like a psychological movie. I mean, it still can be viewed as a psychological movie, just not really now, I guess. But one of the scenes that were cut, and I don't think the only place you could see this is like a couple seconds of it in a trailer, is where in some kind of fair or whatever, there ends up being this bear, and Lawrence fights the bear. You know, this is post him getting bit, so you know it's like a, you know, it's kind of him, you know, crazy him a little bit, right? And so like you can see like a couple seconds of it in the in one trailer or TV spot for it, and I just thought that was interesting. You could see that, but you like, oh, it's not in the movie. I wonder what it was. That's what it was. It was him fighting a bear, and that's why he looks the way he does. I thought that was always interesting. That was pretty cool. So, if I had to rate this movie, if I had to rate this movie right now, I would give this movie an 8.1. And the only flaw with the movie is something that you just can't get around. It's when it came out. I mean, it's nice it came out when it came out, but in the end of the day, it's too bad that, like, you know, they couldn't have, like, made it a little longer, or they couldn't have they couldn't, you know, do this or that with it because of the time it came out. Kind of like why, like, The Thing from Another World's a really good movie, but it's, you know, it's nowhere matched. It's not in the same league as John Carpenter's The Thing. And it's not because the movie sucks, it's because of, well, what it was trying to be and what it ended up being. Which are, you know. But anyways, point is, The Wolfman is a classic. It's a great movie. You really need to watch it if you have not yet. And I'm not sure where you can watch it. Although, I'm assuming that there's probably a free version of it on YouTube that someone uploaded and maybe they haven't found it yet. But, if it's there, if it's like Tubi, it could be on Tubi actually, or some free place, or if you have to rent it off Amazon for a couple dollars, you definitely should. It's a really good movie. I really like this movie. So yeah, give this movie an 8.1, or no, that's, you know, cheat a little bit, 8.2. I just like this movie, and, you know, you can't really do anything about it to me, because this is like one of those movies I was kind of like, you know, kids had their Mickey and Goofy, I had my Frankenstein and Wolfman kind of thing, you know. I was growing up with them, and then I kind of just loved, like, they were like my favorites. It's like kids would be like, oh, who's the toy you brought to school today? Oh, I brought Mickey, or I brought G.I. Joe's, or I brought, you know, Star Wars toys. Like, Sam, what'd you bring? I brought the Wolfman, or, you know, whatever. I never did that, but that's what I would have done if that was a thing. But anyway, I'm Sam. I'm your thirsty guy for BodyBags. For 1941, I did The Wolfman, and I really liked this movie, and I think you would too, if you gave it the time. I gave this movie an 8.2, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.